Good enough.
All right. I think I've heard you say that before. Is that something you say?
Sometimes when I'm not doing fantastic or great or good, it's good enough.
Good enough, okay.
Rarely bad, because that's who I am. But yeah.
No, some people are, no matter how good things are, they'll tell you they're not going very well.
Exactly. And no matter how bad things are for me, I'll say good enough. Because God is good.
We're just gonna call 911 one day and be like, nah, I'm okay.
I'm okay, but
I did lose a leg.
All right, who's awake enough to open in prayer for us today?
I could.
All right.
All right. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for this wonderful Friday, Lord, the day before our weekend starts. And thank you for this wonderful week that we've had. I pray right now that you would help us in this class to learn and to grow, Lord, and that you would just help us to have a good rest of the day and help us have a great weekend coming up, Lord. But help us to not just focus on what could be tomorrow, Lord, but help us to focus on what we have in front of us today. So we thank you and we praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So, I'm recording this class for the basketball ladies. So, as soon as I hit record, I mute myself. Sorry, you have to see me like in double. I'm sorry about that.
Oh,
Keep going.
We got the infinite.
Oh wow, that's crazy. I'm
It's
dizzy
like
now.
that one scene from
You learned how to
Spaceballs.
clone himself.
I've never watched that in
Yikes,
my life.
that's scary.
We should talk about human
What a
cloning.
hilarious movie.
Is it appropriate though?
Okay, let me
It's a
share my
little raunchy.
screen.
But it's
I think
good.
we already have.
Have you seen Spaceballs?
No. I know you
Have
love
you?
it.
Yeah, it was like that one scene.
That one.
They got the double screen. It was I love that one.
Alrighty.
That's crazy.
All right.
No, no, watch that movie.
So the other day we were in the middle of talking about service planning stuff, and so I wanted to finish that. Excuse me, real quick, and then we'll move on to something else. So one of the we talked about evaluating strengths and weaknesses of the team. So if you are leading a team, a worship team, or you're a lead pastor or whatever position, and you have the responsibility to make sure the team's doing well and on vision, on focus, how do you go about making corrections if someone in the team is not on target and they need some help?
You hand them over to Satan.
Hand them over to Satan. That's a different class.
Oh, my bad. My bad.
That's not yet, not until they, get really bad.
Okay.
Anyway, thoughts?
Disappointment.
Maybe take them out to coffee and be like, hey, this is kind of, needs some work.
Yeah.
Take them out to coffee?
You start with a one-on-one conversation. Yeah, I think if it's because of a lack of performance, I don't think there's any need to go more than just a one-on-one conversation with them.
Yeah, I mean, if there's an issue, say Jeanette is your keyboardist and she keeps losing her place every Sunday.
It's too early in the morning.
And she means well,
Mhm.
so you just get together with her and see if there's something you can do to,
You're
Mhm.
fired.
something you can do to help make it easier.
Exactly.
No more worship
Yeah.
for you.
So, yeah, it's collaboration. It's not like
Mhm.
you did this wrong, what are you gonna, you don't condemn, you don't accuse people. when somebody comes across to you as being accusatory, how do you respond?
Defensive.
Yeah, you get defensive and wanna defend yourself and, all that stuff, so, yeah, you want to, another way to sort of head these kinds of things off at the pass is have quarterly evaluations, individual evaluations with each person. Not like an evaluation like, okay, if you don't do well, you can't do this anymore, or lose your job. But just a positive way of evaluating, just sitting down and saying, okay, last time we talked about these things, here were the goals we had, and you know, how did we do, you know, how do you think you did on this goal or that goal? Let's look at that, and then discuss whether or not, you know, okay, well, obviously this thing wasn't working very well, so why don't we try something different? Or are you still comfortable? Do you want to adjust what you're doing? You know, so in that process, you might get to a, you know, where you guys come to a disagreement, you know, about how to fix things, or maybe they don't seem to have a right attitude or something about it. Then you have to go into other kinds of mentoring and character issues and stuff like that. But the goal is to build people up and to build the team up and to keep people in unity. And if there is a hint of something, you know, that's just out of whack, then do your best to work with them, collaborate as individually and also as a team. Sometimes the team has to talk about some things together. As long as you don't call somebody out in front of other people and they don't know you're going to talk about that, you know. You need to, you know, you can't get with the team and say, Jeanette, she just never gets up in time on Sunday morning. What are we gonna do about it, guys? You know, you don't do that. Correct in private, praise in public, right? So, any thoughts or questions, comments?
Yeah, I think it just depends on like how you communicate with them a lot, like, and how they communicate back, because there's not gonna be one way to confront everybody, because
Right.
everybody's different, and so encouragement could help and fix the problem sometimes, and sometimes consequences are gonna have to come, and that would help fix the problem, but
Yeah,
it's just different every time.
yeah, I mean, the goal is not having to do like negative consequences.
Right.
But sometimes you have to face that too,
Mm-hmm.
and still you have to do it with the right, you know, with the right heart, the right attitude. So, all right. So what about like things like this? Hardware, software, stuff to help solve problems. Sometimes you don't need to move people around. The problem may be the equipment or the resources. So sometimes it's just, it's not Jeanette's fault. It's the you know, it's her in-ear monitors, not, you know, she needs a new one, or, you know, whatever. So you have to look at other issues besides just people, you know. Sometimes they're doing the best they can with what they have to work with. So, and when I had to deal with that stuff, I didn't like to, I'm not technical, I don't like messing with that. I don't even want, when I was a pastor, I didn't want to learn it because I had enough things to deal with. So I tried to have people that at least had some aptitude to work out those kinds of things, as far as the streaming situation or whatever it might be. So, but sometimes you have to, it's trial and error to find the right system, the right software, the right equipment that works for you. What works for, you know, a mega church down the road might not work for a rural church, you know, because of the building, because of their finances, because of other issues that come into play. So, thoughts or questions. But anyway, sometimes it's not really the people, it's it's what you give them to work with, and they're doing their best. Other times, it's not the people because the leader's not very clear. The leader just assumes everybody knows what they're talking about, and so they don't take time to give enough detail. I've had that happen, in my life, both sides, where I'm listening to someone and I have no clue what they're talking about, and they think I do, and I'm supposed to act on that, so I have to get clarification or do it wrong, and sometimes I've given instructions and didn't realize till later on that they didn't understand what I was asking, so clear communication. All right, so yeah, just evaluate the tools that you use to centralize programming for the team. The main thing you want to do is streamline and simplify as much as possible to have the quality that you need to have, right? So considerations: cost, usability, features, what works for your setting, competent people to set up and administer, professional training if at all possible. So if you get a new lighting system and nobody has a clue how to work it, you get somebody from where you bought it to at least make a tutorial or something, or come in and have a Zoom meeting or something. So when we switched to Bible engagement plan at our church, I had to do a lot of that, like special training, like a whole Saturday morning, a couple times to. It wasn't complicated, but just the whole idea of switching to a digital platform for Sunday school was hard, to make the switch. So, all right, crafting the perfect service. If nothing went wrong, what would that look like? If everything went exactly as it should, what would that look like? So, a lot of services we attend, unless we're really, really OCD or really into that kind of stuff, there might be mistakes happening we don't even realize, we don't catch. But the people on the team know. So, like the people on the team, they're like, oh my gosh, did you see what happened? And it can become a big deal, even though other people don't care. So if nothing went wrong, what would that look like? If everything went right, what would happen? And so, in other words, if you have a good plan, right? If you make a good plan, have a good checklist, just think of all different kinds of things that could go wrong, all the different backup, like if the live stream on one platform goes down, do you have a backup? Can you quickly switch over to Facebook Live or do something to keep it going, and at least to keep recording? Do you have a backup, or does everybody just panic? So if you have details, if you have a list, if you have somebody that is that person that can foresee or think about what could go wrong, you kind of need to plan for things going wrong, because they might, and they do a lot of times. So I know this is all just sort of surface level stuff, but if there's a lot of distractions in the service, in the worship, in the sound, in the even in the building, in the cooling and heating, all kinds of different things like that. Anything we can do to avoid unnecessary distractions from people being able to worship and pay attention and do what, get as much out of what's happening as possible. That's a good steward. That's being a good steward to do that, to take care of that, right? So how many in here consider yourself, if you were in charge, you would be pretty OCD, or you would be like pretty laid back? What about you?
I would definitely be laid back, not very
Laid
much
back?
OCD.
You're not gonna lose any sleep over little things?
Definitely not little things. I mean, obviously, I want it to be quality, because
Right.
it's good that we need to respect that space of worship or church service and whatnot, because if you have anything that goes wrong, it can really take away from like
Right.
God moving. So making sure it's like quality, but I guess for me, I'm not like a huge OCD, so if something goes wrong that like we can still fix in the future, but if it's not like huge in the moment, I'm not necessarily gonna freak out over it
Yeah.
and like stress over it if I don't necessarily need to.
Yeah, I lean a little bit that direction too, even though it may not look like it. When you're a lead pastor, you have to be on top of it, but I'm not a detail person, I'm a big picture person, so sometimes I see people stressing out over little details and I don't get it, I don't understand.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
somebody else? What about you?
I'm OCD.
Yeah?
Yeah, I care about everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we need both ends of the spectrum on our teams, to help balance it out. The only bad thing about either side of it is if you're so OCD that everybody's walking on eggshells around you,
Right.
or you're so laid back that it's like, man, he doesn't care. Look at what the mess we have, and he doesn't even care. So you gotta bring it in to a good balance. Anybody else? What about you?
I don't know. I feel like I'm laid back. I'm like a good in between. I like order.
Right.
I like when things have an order and things run the way they're supposed to.
Yeah.
So I enjoy the aspect of having like a perfect service. I like it when things flow smooth, but I also won't like flip out if it's not, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
I like the in between. I like when people feel comfortable where they're at, like in the positions they're working
Right.
in, but things are also going the way they should.
So people are enjoying what they do. That's
Yeah.
important.
Very much so. I don't like seeing like people who are serving, but they look like they hate being there,
Yeah.
or they snap at anyone who tells them to do something. Like
Right.
I saw that a lot in the kids' church I served at back home, and to see like kids leaders who hate kids is not a fun dynamic. So, yeah.
It's like the pastor who says, I love pastoring, it's so awesome, I just can't stand people.
Right.
I think it has to be a good in between.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's see, that might have been that was the last slide there. So, let me think, what was I gonna do? I have a plan, but I'm not too OCD about it. So, let me look at my notes, how about that? I do have notes. I had a lot more notes than I had slides. That's okay. So, okay, I'm going to stop the recording for a bit because I'm gonna have you guys break up into, I guess, 3 groups, 2 groups? 3 groups, I guess, of 2, and talk about, just come up with as many important things you can think of that have to do with pastoral care or especially pastoral visitation. When it comes to hospital, whatever, all different things that could happen that need a pastor there. So I'm gonna give you guys like, I don't know, 10 minutes or so to work on that. And then we will get back together. So go ahead and break up into little groups and.
My friend now. Just do guys, girls. We don't really have enough for 3 teams.
Okay, guys, girls.
Well,
Oh,
dang.
boys.
Now I have to go with these two
The
too.
boys back
3
to
ways that pastors
As
can
many
be.
as you can,
Okay.
as many categories of important things that have to do with visitation.
Okay.
Marriage.
Marriage, funerals.
Marriage and unmarriage.
Marriage and
I'll just do it that
Hey.
way.
50% of marriages end in divorce, which means the other 50% end in death. So,
Well, that's taking into account that Jesus came back.
oh, right.
Just
'cause
you
he hasn't
wait.
come back,
Just
so
you wait. That
the
percentage is
stat-
gonna change.
It's gonna change eventually.
Don't forget almost death.
Huh?
Almost death.
Yeah, people in hospitals you're meant to meet with
Hospitals, or if
them.
they're like,
Right, but marriage doesn't end with that.
We're not just
We're not
talking
just-
about marriage.
Oh,
About
yeah.
visitation,
Sorry.
Trevor. Visitation.
Yeah.
For a single guy, you're really focused on this marriage bit.
Well, yeah.
Somebody's excited about something.
All right,
Yeah,
swiftly
funeral.
moving on.
Questions you might follow,
Alright.
or principles you might follow.
Yep.
When
Uh,
doing any kind of
what?
visitation.
Never mind.
You know, like,
He had a
Oh.
thought.
somebody's passed away. it's
Maybe a
different
little bit more of a
kind of
nuanced one.
situation,
But
or
like
somebody's in
when I was in
hospital,
soccer and we went to
you're going to
Iowa
visit somebody
for one of our games, my pastor showed up.
you know,
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So
Exactly. That's
these things you might
Games
wanna
slash
think
community events.
yeah, like that's always like really encouraging.
about. Mhm.
Like my lead pastor, when we got a big church, showed up for my game. Like that meant a lot. So
Yeah.
also I do think there is value in that as a pastor to like show up to like some more smaller events of like even if it's just like one or two people in your congregation, like showing up for them is really encouraging. Something like that too.
It's like soccer games, graduations, like important life events like that sort of
Yes.
stuff too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Graduations.
100%. That's a very good thing. Not necessarily like pastors have to do that, but it's a fantastic thing for pastors to do.
If they can, they probably should.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like what
Yeah.
the specific need is.
What else?
Seeing if there's a void they can fill in there.
Burps. No, just kidding. You don't want the pastor
Y'all.
to be like, hey, heard you had a baby. Here's some
Y'all
food.
ever have like a church meeting where all the churches meet? Not not just one church, but all the pastors will meet up.
They're very
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like that's also somewhat important because then you can centralize the church goal in the town. Given they mostly just end in debates and arguments. But
they don't really have a care in the world. I guess having grace for people
Okay, Theo, what do you think?
and the things that they're doing.
If you're visiting the hospital, it's like, I don't know, you kind of have to be like sensitive, but like, I don't know, not overly like fake, maybe. I don't know.
Well,
Get
yeah.
this totally balance.
Yeah.
hit them with Hell's Gate.
Man, I'm really sorry right now. So sorry that you're sick.
I am the
Mind
most
if I
sorry
pray
for you.
I guess. Like,
Do you want prayer or anything?
No, I do definitely think there's value. Because also, when I was being diagnosed, well, they didn't show up at the hospital, but they did come. My children's pastor, who I help with a lot, and then also my young adults pastor, they both showed up. They came over to my place, but they showed up and just chatted about it, and they prayed over me and like stuff like that. I do definitely think there's value in that. I would hope the pastors wouldn't be fake about it. Otherwise, I don't know that you should be a pastor in the first place.
Hey, you guys gotta fake it till you make it. This is a new situation.
Exactly.
I don't know how to act yet.
Another person in my congregation got sick again. Ugh, this is so ridiculous. Now I have to go pray for him?
And this is supposed to be my Sabbath.
No, there's definitely value in the highs and in the lows.
Your rest time.
You know.
True emergencies you do have to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Franklin was talking about yesterday in chapel.
Yeah.
A car just ran into the stairwell.
Yeah.
And deal with it.
That might be
Like-
an emergency.
I can't deal with this right now. Go away.
Yeah.
What else do pastors have to do?
What do you think?
Well, I'm
You're
gonna,
one of the boys.
I'm gonna tell you in a
Oh.
minute.
Yeah.
You already have 4.
We need a few
And
more.
I'm sure we have more than you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we're discussing things instead of just like
We are
listening.
discussing.
Okay, fine.
That's how our brains work.
Like we talked about marriage and divorce, but what happens before marriage? Like premarital
Premarital
counsel.
counseling.
What is that? That's not the
That's
topic.
not the topic.
Well,
at all.
visitation specifically.
Marriage isn't really a
Huh?
visitation.
Just visitation specifically.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You're visiting
I'm
them to get them
pretty
married.
sure. Just visiting.
Usually the people visit
The person.
Maybe they do have
Like to go to a marriage.
What is it, like the pastor's supposed to chaperone them on their dates or
Oh
something?
yes, that'd be amazing. I would love for my pastor to go on every date with me. No, just kidding.
So like understanding
Oh dear.
what each person
No, I'm talking about when somebody dies,
Somebody
somebody's
dies.
sick,
Write that down.
there's a kid in the,
We already did.
there's some family, their kids run away, there's, you know,
Yeah.
Are we
Yeah.
talking about how to deal with it?
how
Well-
to approach visiting in
Oh.
difficult circumstances or,
How to approach it, or like what
yeah,
situation?
what kind
you
of
should,
rules do you follow? What kind
Oh.
of,
Oh.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, we were
what
talking
kind
about
of principles do you follow to go out and visit people?
Gotcha.
Well, so far we have don't be fake.
Don't be fake.
Oh, let's go.
Exactly. If you if you're fake about it, you maybe should check your heart and maybe not be a pastor.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You don't have Napoleon Dynamite attitude?
What's that mean?
Huh?
Bro, did you just say what's that?
That mean?
Oh.
Have you seen the movie?
Yeah, I've seen it, but I kind of
Just
don't
like-
remember.
Gosh.
It is a
My
pretty
lips hurt
stupid
real bad.
movie.
It is.
The one time they were watching that in the girls' lounge, I think I watched the first like 30 minutes of it and was like, okay. Like, I love stupid humor, but I left that movie.
Eli was just so for it. It just kind of made me against it.
It was a cult classic for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For a little bit.
I can see why like people really liked it, but like for me even, like I love stupid humor movies, but like I don't know, that one was just like felt really dry, like really dry humor. And like there's like a funny dry humor, and then there's just a dry humor, and I feel like it kind of hit that like just dry for me at least. If other people love
I've been
it,
to the town
great.
of Preston, Idaho. It
Okay.
was like an hour from where I used to live.
oh really? Do they have like a museum or something up there too?
No,
Dynamite
but the
Museum.
Ligers are real.
The what?
The Ligers,
The Lakers?
tiger and lion.
Yeah.
Okay.
They talked about that in the movie. That was a real deal.
Mm-hmm.
And they got out of control and started, you know, eating people's stuff or whatever.
That's awesome.
Anyway,
Let's make a new super predator.
You don't have to drink 2% milk. You're not bad. You can drink all milk.
Oh yeah. First hilarious. Anyways, ministry.
sorry.
Yes.
Don't take on too much than you can handle.
Huh?
Don't take on too much than you can handle. Know your limits.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no limits.
Exactly. Like it's like pastors can definitely. It's very nice to have a pastor involved in these sort of things, but like also they might not always know you the best, and so you just show up, say you're supporting them, pray for them, and then ditch. You know,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes.
And it's also having a group of leaders / pastors around you to uplift you after dealing with all the things.
Yeah. That's
A
good.
gift with thoughtfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You divine and dash. Just kidding.
Oh boy.
Anyways. But yeah. I like that too. People around you to make sure that you don't. Yeah, that. And then.
Can you clean the tower?
No, minesweeper.
He said it so disappointedly. No.
Because I just freaking tapped the mine.
So what does that mean for you?
So I have to solve the neighboring
Oh.
sectors. in
Okay,
order
so
to
it's
solve
just
that
the
one.
area. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it would just chain reaction the entire thing. Imagine almost finishing the entire game and you hit a single mine.
That would be crazy because it's infinite. So if I'm
It's
almost
not
finished,
actually infinite, bro. It's not how reality works.
that's how minesweeper works.
No. You only have so much storage anyways.
No.
Infinite.
Infinite. But yeah,
Oh, preparing
Pastoral
someone
Visitation.
by spending, like,
Yeah.
some time
100%.
listening on
110%.
110%.
the word.
You should be willing to give during your visitations.
Give during your visitation.
Yeah, you should have a heart of
Generosity.
generosity, yeah.
Mm.
Because sometimes when you go places, you're kind of just going and accepting things.
Right.
But
Oh
yeah.
yeah. That
Sure.
makes a lot of sense.
There you go.
You go to a family emergency, someone who is having a family emergency, and be like, "Here's a lollipop."
Well,
I'm just
like
kidding.
my church and school, my church and school used to partner to like raise money for people whose children's passed away because we had a lot of dead children in my school.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, it was really awkward, but also, yeah. They really couldn't figure out
awkward
not to
is
stand on top of cars. Yeah, a lot of them died from being stupid.
Okay.
Yeah. But
I feel
also,
like I would fit right in.
Generosity.
there's a
that's
guy
what
who was like, yes, 2 cars driving side by side. I'm going to stand 1 foot on each. This can't possibly go wrong. It went wrong.
That's a pretty cool way to pass it.
Anyways.
It was not.
All right, sounds like we should probably get back together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We've been off topic for over half of this.
Yeah. Okay, I will start recording again. So, I hate that. So, we'll start with you guys. What are some principles or thoughts you had besides something about marriage?
Trevin's just thinking ahead.
No excuse.
Really ahead. Very
So
ahead.
the big ones that we talked about, weddings, funerals, and then also one that's a little bit more nuanced, but also I do think is just as important is if there's any like community. So what?
I think we're more talking about like
The actions we do.
the
not
what
the-
pastors should do in situations where they're doing visitations.
Oh, I thought we were just talking about like when would a pastor visit?
No.
I mean, there's a little bit of it, but mostly principles.
I'm
about-
sorry. I like
That's
woke
okay.
up what 30 minutes ago. Yeah, pretty much.
Bro woke up 8:05 and got here at 7:55.
So we were saying how it's very important to not be fake about anything. If you're dreading to go visit people in the hospital,
Mhm.
it's like, come on, man, they're in the dumps, they're down having a rough time, and you're just like, it's such a pain to go visit somebody right now. It's like, that's not cool. We've talked about, Zach brought up a great point of being generous during that kind of time for them,
Mhm.
and how like a lot of times pastors go around and, well, a lot of people give pastors stuff sometimes because pastors are in need, but sometimes people don't realize like how much pastors should also give back to the community,
Right.
through like, not necessarily just by themselves, but like through like, Zach said his church partnered with the school in order to help kids who, yeah. And so generosity and not being fake, and what was another one?
I think that might be actually it.
I think we came up with a couple more, but
Well,
And
And then we got
everything
distracted
else.
talking about marriage. So
we talked about
And we started talking about Napoleon Dynamite.
It's-
All right, well, let's go to the other side.
Okay.
You guys have.
Well, we were focusing a lot more on like, more of like a home type visit, so we had a lot of stuff like home or hospital, so following procedures and like health precautions, so like if you're gonna go into a ward, you're willing to put on the gown. Know the person's needs and know them,
Mhm.
like know how to approach that situation, so like maybe putting thought into, should you get them a gift, should you show up like empty-handed, is that the kind of person that's gonna accept more?
Mhm.
Having grace for them, because whether it's like a hospital, a home visit, like jail visit, like people are not in like super chipper moods when
Right.
you're gonna go visit them, and having grace that they might not be the kindest of person in
Right.
that situation. Being ready for the hard conversations or prayers that you might have to have with them. Being strong in faith. maybe if they're like struggling with a job loss, helping them in a job search, or if the opportunity arises, maybe being able to offer them a job in the church. We kind of talked about the idea of like when you go to visit, sometimes you have to like don't be a preacher, like just go and be like a welcoming presence to them, and not just go in preaching that they're a horrible person or they're gonna go to hell, but also know when that's what's necessary. Like,
Or don't get into a preachy tone.
yeah,
like,
very much.
like you're trying to encourage them, but you sound like you're preaching a sermon.
Like, just go and be a person,
Yeah.
not necessarily just a pastor. Like, that should be kind of your role, but you shouldn't let that, like, only be who you are.
Right,
Like, sometimes, like, just go be you, go be a person,
right.
because that's what people need.
Yeah, we talked about the aspect of like filling voids, so like seeing if there's something that that person really desperately needs in the moment, like whether it's groceries, maybe just physical touch, like they just need someone to hug them and hold them,
Right.
or like maybe finding a way to help them connect with their family if they're like having it's been a while that they haven't been able to talk to them.
Yeah.
We talked about kind of divorce counseling a little bit, and like that's sometimes like a home visit. You go and you talk to them, and it's very important to not pick sides in situations like that. Being an encourager, maybe like when you go to like do like a hospital visit, a home visit, maybe like a shelter visit, like being willing to serve in that area, like not just going to visit that person, but like is there anything around this area or around your house that you need help with in this moment?
Right.
So just a lot of like be willing to serve and be compassionate and encouraging.
Good.
Just to sum up what we have.
Yeah, I mean, those are all good. There are times, if you're at a hospital or a nursing home, the person might say, hey, or you might notice that they need something. Maybe they need more ice. You notice that they don't have any ice and they're drinking, but they're thirsty, and but you have to watch out for that, because some people aren't allowed to have certain things in the hospital. So only if it's allowed. So yeah, don't bring them a Big Mac if they just got out of gastro bypass surgery or something.
Pretty crazy story about that.
Or be careful your words. Think about your words. If you go in and somebody they're in ICU and they've had a very serious surgery, I mean, be careful what you say about, oh, are you okay? Or you don't look so well, it can come out accidentally, like that it accentuates negative things instead of trying to encourage them. So, or like, oh, you're tough, you'll get through it, stuff like that. Sometimes it might be a good one for like an old guy who likes joking around even if he's sick, but normally that, you have to be careful with some of that stuff. So, okay, let's see here. What time is it? Okay, we have a little time left. There it is. Probably not enough time. So, okay. A few best practices we could look at is preparation. So, don't just, don't take it seriously when you're gonna go visit somebody. Don't just say, oh, I've gotta go visit this person, and just go without giving it much thought. Think about the situation, ask the Lord for help, for wisdom, for discernment. If you happen to know them, if you've already visited with them and you have some information either written down in your personal notes or something, review that to get you back up to speed so that you don't, ask them questions you already have asked them, or that are not appropriate. So, yeah, remember previous concerns, prayer requests, or, health updates. maybe last time you saw them, they were on the mend a little bit, but now you're not sure what's going on, you know. You can bring a small gift if maybe, like a devotional book or maybe a church bulletin or a card of some kind. That's not necessary. Don't bring a bottle of champagne. I don't think that's important. So professionalism and respect. So think about the schedule. Be punctual, arrive on time. If there's a set time you have agreed that you're going to visit, be there on time. Try to avoid just random visits without letting them know ahead of time. Sometimes if they're in the hospital, they will be happy to see you. You don't have to like plan it ahead of time. If they're in a serious situation, especially if it's really like a life or death kind of situation, the family will be happy to see you most of the time. So you don't necessarily have to plan that, but if you can text, their daughter or something and say, hey, I'm coming over, and let them, if that's all right. Kind of have to play it by ear, depending on what you know about them and about the situation. So be careful, how you dress, be appropriate, try to be professional. That doesn't mean go in a suit and tie, guys, or a business suit. But don't go in your beaters and your wife beater and your beach shorts and flip-flops, or whatever.
Crazy.
Be appropriate, be respectful in the way you dress. The way you dress and the way you present yourself shouldn't distract them, So reflect Christ in both appearance and demeanor. So in ministry, a lot of times you have to sort of kind of put yourself in neutral a little bit in situations and just watch and respond according to what's going on. But a lot of times you just stand back and you're just there. You're not necessarily doing anything, but you're available. It depends on the situation. So respect boundaries. If visiting the opposite gender, ensure appropriate interactions. Guys, don't go visit a single girl at her house for pastoral visitation all by yourself. That would be silly. If she's in the hospital, yeah, you can go visit her. That's a public setting, and that's great. But, same thing with ladies, just be careful. Yeah.
Maybe you could have your spouse come with you?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You just don't
done
want to put
that.
yourself in a situation where
Yeah.
someone can say something and you had no witnesses.
Yeah.
It's just like a precaution.
Yeah, my wife has gone with me a lot of times to the hospital to visit people, or to their homes, or wherever it might be. So yeah, what time is it? Wait a minute. What time is it? Okay. I'm gonna stop right there, because I don't wanna dig deeper into this and just have to let you go. So that's it for the day. Hopefully this was a little bit helpful. Very important stuff. It is. That's why this is Ministerial Practicum, right?
Yeah.
You have to be thinking about all these kinds of things. So anyway, well, bless you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Houston. I don't need this.